It's time for Talkin Tauntauns, your Star Wars source at AIPTcomics.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns, the official Star Wars podcast for AIPTcomics.com. I am JJ Travers, and I'm joined this morning, as always, by Nicole Herview and Jim Lehane. Today, we're talking a little bit of Star Wars news and about, of course, the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. This one was directed by, who was it? Kevin Tanchoran, who I'm not familiar with at all. I wasn't even aware he was directing anything for this series, but apparently he helmed the newest Mortal Kombat after he did a web series about it that like blew up. But yeah, other than that, I'm not familiar with him.
Good for him.
He's done a bunch of television stuff, I guess. But yeah, good for him. But before we get into that, how is everyone this morning? Nicole, you had less computer problems today?
I did. My computer cooperated. It was a good morning. But yeah, doing okay, working. It's about it. I've pretty much been in my apartment for a week straight. So that's something. What the heck else? I don't know. Not a lot. I wish I had something for you. The only thing that's like happening in my world is this ridiculous festival that was announced. It's called When We Were Young, and it's headlined by My Chemical Romance and Paramore, and pretty much Avril Lavigne as well, and pretty much every emo band you've ever heard of is playing it, and it's a one-day festival in Vegas.
That's what October. I saw something about Vegas, and I saw Avril Lavigne, and I'm like,
yeah.
Is this like?
It's real. It's very
late
real.
90s, early 2000s? When was Avril Lavigne a thing?
Early mid 2000s. It's very big. Early mid 2000s till now emo culture. Like some of the like pop punk bands that have gotten big recently are playing, which is great. But what's driving me nuts is it's 67 bands and it's 12 hours and there's no way. I was like, this is a logistical nightmare. It's 3 stages, 67 bands, 12 hours. Not gonna happen. I was like, that is gonna be tough. So I won't be going, but I'm like emotionally torn, and that's what's taking up most of my mental energy aside from work is the fact that I'm not going. It's probably better that I don't go because it's probably going to be a freaking mess. So we'll see.
Sounds like it could be.
Just make it 3 days. I don't know what we're doing fitting all of this into 2 days. I'm like, everyone's got about 20 minutes. That's not going to work out, is it? That's just not going to work out for anybody.
Yeah,
and I love Vegas.
I've never been.
I've never been either. I really want to go. And there's a concert next month that I really, really wanted to go to. But I am not going anymore just because it's just not worth it with
Sure.
My wife being pregnant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not going to risk going during like the worst surge in the history of this stupid pandemic. I went to a concert in the fall. Mm-hmm. That was great. You had to be vaccinated to get in. Everyone was wearing their masks. I felt fine. But with how bad the surge is and how contagious Omicron seems to be, I just can't risk it. It's such a bummer, but yeah.
Yeah, it is a bummer.
I've also never been to Vegas, but we've talked about it. I didn't get, because of COVID, a bachelor party, and my best friend is getting married, who you both know, Pat, in May, and I don't know that he's going to get one either because of this. And my other best friend, Mike, who I believe you both know, he didn't get a bachelor party either. So we've talked about Vegas for when this is over as like a joint 3-guy bachelor party. But yeah, who knows if it'll ever happen.
I was supposed to do Secrets of the Empire with Pat when I was in Vegas because we both happened to be there at the same time, and he ditched out on me. So I did it by myself, which I'm glad because now the Void is no longer a thing.
Yeah, I did the Void actually with Pat and our friend Donnie when we went to Disney, and it was super fun. I didn't know it's not a thing anymore. Is that because of COVID, or they just got rid of it?
Well, the Void is its own company. and COVID kind of killed it, I believe. I'm pretty sure the company is, if not defunct, they're seriously hurting.
Yeah, it sucks. For those of you who are not familiar, The Void ran this experience in Disney Springs or Downtown Disney, whatever it's called, where it was
both
you
of
wore
them,
like
actually.
a big like 3D pack on you carried it on your back. You had like a blaster and a VR headset, and it was a very immersive experience. It was super fun.
It was. They had one Star Wars story, Secrets of the Empire, but they also did a whole bunch of other Disney. They had a Ghostbusters thing, and they weren't just in the downtown and Disney Springs there, because there were both of them. They were in a bunch of places. One in Vegas, and their headquarters was actually not too far away from me in Utah, and you couldn't actually go there because they didn't have any experiences at their headquarters, which was a bummer because I was right there.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Yeah, it seemed cool when I saw it advertised in Disney, but I was, I'm wary of VR.
They announced the new PlayStation VR recently, and I don't have a PS5, but pretty much all of my friends do, so I'm hoping eventually one of them gets whatever Star Wars game is the newest and greatest thing on VR, because it is fun. It can be a little disorientating, but my experiences with it thus far have been pretty positive.
The Void does it the best because it is not only like the Oculus where you're just wearing the headset and you're kind of going around your own space. The Void actually does like physical objects. Like if you need to pick up something, there is something for you to pick up. And like you are in a room, you are actually in that room, and you go from one room to another. So like part of Secrets of the Empire, you had to go across this like narrow bridge over like pools of steaming lava, and I'm like tentatively putting my foot out on the bridge. Like, is it actually there? Like, am I okay? Like, it is super freaky when you get it.
Yeah, they like blow hot air into your face to like simulate the lava. It was stepping off the dropship onto the walkway. My friends and I had the same experience. We're like, oh man, and like clearly you're in a very flat room where there's no drops, but they do such a good job of making you believe otherwise.
Immediately no. Like, immediately no. I'd be like, okay, we're done. I'd take the thing off. I'd be like, you can keep my money. Goodbye. Like, get me out of here. No.
Panic button. Where's the panic button?
Yeah, like, absolutely not. But sounds really fun, guys. Like, honestly, I'm just, like, a wuss. So, no.
Yeah, but speaking of non-VR Star Wars stuff, a little bit of news today.
Your Tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell.
Hello, what have we here?
StarWars.com does a thing every Tuesday. This is the third one they've done now, called Bonus Bounties, and it's basically all Book of Boba Fett stuff. And they announce like new things that you can buy for Book of Boba Fett. So the previous weeks have featured a Boba Fett Nerf blaster, black chrysanthem t-shirt, a Book of Boba Fett crew neck sweatshirt that looks pretty cool. There's a Gar's Fwip Sanctuary tote bag from the previous weeks and some trading cards. This week has the twins, the two Hutt Finns on a tote bag. The Rancor Keeper, Danny Trejo, on a sweatshirt, which I love Danny Trejo, but it just does not look good to me.
Even better than the sweatshirt is the Danny Trejo socks.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't get there yet. Yeah.
I will get those.
See, those are so
amazing.
ridiculous that I would get those.
They are. They're like perfect.
Yeah, those are really over the top. I would actually proudly rock those. The white t-shirt is pretty cool. I actually like that. What do you guys think about this?
It's okay. I'm not impressed by these designs at all. But I'm very picky with my like designs. But yeah, I mean, I guess that if there's a good one, it's the t-shirt with the bantha on it and the stormtrooper helmet's on spikes. That's interesting. That's like dynamic enough that I'm like, okay, cool. Everything else is trying real hard and
what you had
failing.
said a while ago about I think it was when we were doing Christmas, about things being print demand.
Yes.
Where you get the small square within a T-shirt.
Yep.
That's basically what you have here.
That's exactly it.
It's a small triangle
Mm-hmm.
on a T-shirt, and it's clearly we came up with the design and we put it on a T-shirt.
Yeah, it's a very print on demand looking thing. The socks, I get what you're saying about how like this is ridiculous. I have to have it. I do feel that. I'm just like, okay. I love Danny Trejo, but no. The only thing on this page that's cool is the statue.
The statue is amazing.
That's incredible.
I assume that's why JJ skipped it.
Yes, I was leaving the best.
Back to it.
I was leaving the best for last.
Well, there you go.
So, yes, as Nicole mentioned, there's a super cool statue by Gentle Giant. Are they the folks that made your Thrawn bust, Jim, or is that somebody else?
I believe it was. Kodabukaya is the other big statue maker that I really like. Both of those in Sideshow. Those three are your big go-to high quality, and I think Gentle Giant's the one that made the Thrawn one.
Cool. So this has Boba Fett as we saw him at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, decked out in his Mandalorian armor, sitting atop the throne in Jabba's palace with the two Rancor heads on either side, the old Sith writing on the back. He's got his blaster and his helmet on, and he just looks like a badass. So you can pre-order this now. It's estimated to arrive in June, and it's $350. But so I will not be getting this, but man, it is super cool. And they also do a bunch of Mandalorian statues as well. If you go to their page, they have busts of Bo-Katan. They have Rebel stuff, Hera and Chopper. They have some full busts of Ahsoka and Mando with Grogu. There's some really cool stuff on this site that is making me want to spend money that I shouldn't spend. So I'm going to close this browser tab now. But yeah, at the very bottom, before we move on, there's also trading cards. You can get digital trading cards with the Star Wars Card Trader app. Like, is that a thing? Do kids like that? I don't see the point in that.
Apparently it's a thing. I don't know. I'm too old for this crap.
It was really big a few years ago, not that long ago. I'd say like 3 or 4 years ago was the digital trading cards. I don't do it either, so I'm not entirely sure how big it is. But I do have friends who do it.
Yeah, I guess I just don't see the appeal of digital trading cards. I'd always want to, hold them.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like a very physical thing.
And here is where we insert our discussion on NFTs.
I was just going to say that, and absolutely not. Don't even get me started.
Everyone has opinions about NFTs. Most of those opinions are, what is an NFT? And then somebody explains it and goes, what is an NFT?
Yeah, all I know is it's ridiculous, a weird sounding scam, and it has negative environmental impacts. Look that one up. But yeah, it's really bad. It's using up a lot of energy and server space, and that's the biggest problem I have with it. Cool.
All right. So that is this week's bounties. So next week there'll be more. I think they're doing 4. I don't know how many they're doing. Did they say?
I have no idea.
I
don't know. Maybe we'll talk about more next week.
It seems to be a continuation of the Bring Home the Bounty series that they've been doing since the beginning of November, almost weekly, I believe.
All right. So Jim, you brought this to our attention. Do you want to talk about this? The tweet?
Yes, I do. I thought it was super interesting, and it also made a lot of sense. Pablo Hidalgo, as people know, is a member of the Lucasfilm Story Group, and he is not the head of the Lucasfilm Story Group, regardless of what people seem to think, and he has plainly laid out he's not the head, so whatever he says does not go, but people take it as his word. But this was an interesting bit of information, and that he was talking about The Force Awakens, and he had a tidbit that said basically Bad Robot wanted to blow up Coruscant, but Lucasfilm really did not want to blow up Coruscant, and so they made a compromise and said, let's put the galactic headquarters somewhere else. And as he puts it, Hosnian Prime was the unsatisfying middle ground. That way, JJ could blow up the capital of the Republic, where the capital is not Coruscant. And I know, I know JJ's feelings on the sequel trilogy's, I guess, plot points.
Now, mind you, you're talking about two JJs at the same time.
Yeah, I was
here.
gonna say there's a lot of JJs.
Oh, okay, sorry. The JJ Travers, our co-host's feelings on the sequel trilogy's plot points aren't always in the brightest of lights, and this being one of them. Going, that is a weird decision to make, but apparently J.J. Abrams really wanted to blow up the Capitol. I would have preferred it actually be Coruscant, because I think that would have had more of an impact while watching it. Because even now, we don't have much on Hosnian Prime. Nothing in live action or cartoons, mostly books. And even then, it's like, okay, it wouldn't have run as strongly as if it was Coruscant, where they go, wow, that is an impactful statement to make in the first of this sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I am with you 100% on that. I think it would have been way more evil and impactful. They would have killed way more people. They would have destroyed the symbol of galactic power going back millennia. They would have destroyed like a major hub for, business, culture. It just would have really been like a super ruthless move, and it would have shocked people a lot more than a star system they've never heard of until that film.
Yeah, agree. I got nothing to add. Just yes.
So I find it interesting that Pablo deleted the tweet, but I'm not entirely surprised because of the vitriol that is the internet.
He also does that all the time.
Yeah, he left Twitter, or he locked down his account super much, and then he kind of came back tentatively. And he doesn't generally tweet about Star Wars that much because of how much people take him at his word.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a great example for me of like one of my problems with the sequel trilogy. Like, I just feel like they made a lot of decisions and that could have been really impactful and like bold, and then like pulled back at the last second. Like when we thought Chewie died, he was actually fine. Like that was another one that would have been like, that really would have been a dagger to people's hearts. Just stuff like that. But whatever. We're not talking about the sequel trilogy today. We're talking about Boba Fett.
Is that our segue?
No, because I forgot. There's one more piece of news.
That was almost really cool.
You had a good segue there.
I did. Well, I'll have more in the future, hopefully.
What's interesting is Boba Fett is its own kind of sequel, in that it's after the original trilogy, and also at the same time as the original trilogy. No, it's all after the original trilogy. Leave me alone. I'm like, what timeline are we on?
I was watching you work through that.
Yeah, right? Was that fun for everybody? My God.
I could hear the gears grinding. It's
ouch. Like, my head hurts now. It's fine.
All right.
What's your other news?
So the other news is, it's nothing crazy, but it's cool nonetheless. So everyone like pretty much knew that Bad Batch Season 2 would be in 2022, but Star Wars Insiders has now confirmed that it's going to be this spring. So sometime between March and May, we will get the Bad Batch Season 2, which I'm super excited about because I loved the vast majority of Season 1.
I wouldn't be surprised because it premiered last year on May the 4th. I would not be surprised if we got the same premiere date.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would be cool. And we're getting Ahsoka this year and Obi-Wan.
Ahsoka, I don't think has been confirmed.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andor.
Andor and Obi-Wan have been confirmed for this year.
And maybe, but we don't know yet, Mandalorian Season 3.
Maybe.
That I'm pretty sure. They had a huge, like a reel of all the titles coming out in Disney Plus on one of the commercials. And it's like everything coming out in 2022. And I know Andor was on there. There was no time period. But it definitely this year. Obi-Wan, we already have a time period. Mandalorian Season 3, I'm pretty sure was on there as well. And we could assume that one, again, would be towards the end of the year when they've been dropping The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy year for us.
Well, yeah.
And just really fun for Star Wars fans. Spoiled these days. Not like when I grew up. All right. Now we can talk the Book of Boba Fett.
This is Master Assassin Fennec Shand. I'm Boba Fett. Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
All right, so Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. First reactions. How do we feel about this one?
This might be the strongest one so far, in my opinion. That's my one sentence review.
I really enjoyed it. I've been actually enjoying. I know people were down on episode 3, which was the previous one because of all the shiny bikes. I enjoyed that one. I obviously had problems just with the speeder chase, and that's it. I thought the episode was fine, but this one I liked. I thought this one was a lot of fun. We get the end of his dream flashbacks, and he's they even put the nail in the coffin going, "You're fully healed." So I guess they're not going back in the back to bed too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it greatly.
Yeah, I liked that they left no questions about that, because we've seen a very different Boba Fett than we saw at the end of The Mandalorian, where he was just kicking ass, first with his gaffy stick and then with his Mandalorian armor, and he's been quite subdued in comparison because of his injury. But now that he's fully healed, I'm hoping the last 3 episodes of the season will have us watch Boba Fett kick some Pike ass and some other bad guys. This episode felt a lot stronger. There was one thing I didn't understand and I didn't like that I want to talk about. And it kind of harkens back to episode 3. When Boba takes... I really like that we got to see him get injured, Fennec Shand, and come full circle on like how that relationship got started and how he kind of like endeared her to him with his like change in like philosophy because of his experience with the Tuskens. Very, again, Dances with Wolves, just like really changed his outlook on life. Which I also think is great for all the people who have been detractors about the change in Boba Fett. Nicole, I think you asked Jim and I about that.
I did.
At the end of last episode or the one before, and I thought this was a great way to address that, because he is so different, and I really like that they zeroed in on that. And even Fennec Shand brought it up to him, and you can see just his change in demeanor up until this point, but now he's actually like spelling it out for people, and I thought they did a great job handling it. That was I started this talking about something I didn't like, but that is not this, to be clear. I liked this very much.
Yeah, I wrote down the line because I was like, oh, they saw that coming from a mile away. Fennec says, living with the Tuskens has made you soft, and he said, no, it made me strong. You can only get so far without a tribe. And I was like, there it is! Like, it's interesting when you watch a thing justify itself. But I thought that was a really smart move, because they knew people were going to be like, where the hell is Boba Fett? Who is this, man? And they were like, yeah, that's what you sound like.
Baby Fett.
That's what you sound like. And they were like, all right, let's just like bite this. Like, when we can and when it makes sense. Because obviously he wouldn't be talking about that change in himself with anyone we've met so far, but with Fennec it totally makes sense. I really liked that they kind of, as much as breaking the fourth wall as Star Wars is allowed to do, it's what they did, and I found that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough to write down the line, So yeah, I thought that was a strong decision. But yeah, I think we're gonna see some classic Boba Fett ass kicking in the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, sorry. To get back to, I tried to tell you guys the one issue I had with this episode, and then I thought about something super cool and moved right past it, so I'll come back. When he brings Fennec Shand to the, not mechanic, there's like a specific term he uses.
The mod
shop, I think he said.
Mod
shop,
yes.
Yep.
So this was the only part of the episode that didn't feel like Star Wars to me. It felt like sci-fi. It was very sci-fi. It was like out of like Farscape or Star Trek, or like it was totally sci-fi. They nailed that part, but it wasn't Star Wars. The music was super off, like the aesthetic, the characters, just like none of it felt Star Wars. It felt super sci-fi, and I loved that about it, but it just didn't feel like it belonged on this planet, in this room, with these characters. And what really irked me about it even more is I always love to watch the credits because you see all of the concept art. And if you guys load, I don't know how easy, if it's not easy for you, I'll just take a screenshot and show you. You're shaking your head, so I'll take a screenshot. But there's a scene in the credits that show the concept art for this this moment in the show, and it's so good. It looks perfect. So I'm like, why didn't they go with this aesthetic? And this is the only part of the episode that was a big miss for me.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I actually thought to myself, this is very sci-fi, but is it Star Wars? Like, I actually, like, thought that to myself. And it didn't bother me as much, but I do see the complaint. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not bothered by it, but I understand why someone would be.
It just really took me out of the moment because I like, it's not this egregious sin, and I'm not like, the whole episode stinks now, but it just like, it just didn't, it was so foreign to my expectations for this universe that I was just like, what show am I watching right now? Because it doesn't feel anything like a Star Wars universe and what I should expect for this. But yeah, let me show you guys the concept art. I just took a screenshot of it. Sorry, Disney.
I found it wasn't.
There you go.
It wasn't. It didn't hurt me. I found it interesting that we basically have been built up to this. I thought the biker gang, whatever he's calling it, Boba Fett's little crew with all the mods, it basically set up this whole thing where we have this group of teenagers who like to mod themselves, and so they use that as their explanation into what happened to Fennec. I thought that was super cool, kind of how they built into it.
Yeah, I like the connection between the two and how he has like the history there. But when you look at this concept art, it's this like dark, gritty room with droid heads and droid parts that we recognize. Like the other folks in here with cybernetic parts have that like dark, dirty, like, kind of like seedy underbelly look, and the dude doing the work, same thing. He's got like mechanical parts and just like nothing like colorful, I guess, that's what feels so off about this to me, is like Tatooine is not a colorful place. It's dirty, it's grungy, it's like, a hard place, and that tone, like those like neon bright colors, it just feels so foreign and alien to the culture and the environment that it takes me out of it.
Don't you? I see you. I fully see you, but you don't think that there'd be a counterculture on a planet like Tatooine?
Not really. No.
Really?
Well, when you have teenagers?
You have teenagers who are like, this is the worst, and I wish I was anywhere else.
I've seen teenagers on Tatooine, and they're not like this.
You don't think that some of them... You've seen one teenager on Tatooine. You don't think there's some who would be like, screw all of this. I want some of that, like, Coruscant, like, vibe. I need that. I know it exists. I've seen it. Like, I'm bringing it here. And you don't think there'd be money in that? There'd be so much money in that.
I guess, like, it comes back to what the kids said. Like, there is no work. Where do you get the money? They farm moisture for a living, and there's Jawas scrounging, and it's all criminals and drugs. It just, I can see the argument for it. And again, I want to be clear. This is not like some awful, horrible thing to me. I just felt like it was out of place, and it didn't feel, the music, the aesthetic, none of it felt Star Wars to me. That's it. That's
a fair argument. That's it. That's all I have to say. It's fair. I can see both sides of it.
No, but I agree with you that I like the concept art. I like that kind of how it's set up.
It's cool, yeah.
I did have a problem with the guy who did the surgery. His robot arm looked like it was clearly something he slipped over his actual hand, so it was too long. And like, if you have something that far in front of your hand, it's not as easy to do the surgery because it's so long that your elbow is too far back. Like, physically, it is difficult to do something like that. And that's all I could think about in my head was like, no, it's too long. I would have wanted it shorter if I was in his position, just to get more dexterity into there. And I think the concept art basically shows it was just too expensive to do something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. What could have been? Oh well. No big deal. Looking at the other concept art, it takes me to something else that I really, really enjoyed about this episode, and that was Black Chrysanthemum basically being like, I'm bored and angry, and Trandoshans hunt Wookiees, so I'm just gonna go beat the crap out of these guys just because I feel like it. And
My
Jennifer
boy.
Beal, man. That was her biggest acting showcase yet. She looked so in the character. She was also smoking hot. And just have to throw it out there, man. Jennifer Beal, she still got it.
That's okay.
Yeah, I loved this. And it furthers my suspicion that she is up to no good.
She's definitely up to no good. But my boy Chrysanthemum was like, I hear you. Take my money, I'm ripping his arm off. Like, just had absolutely, like, maybe a bit of hesitation, but he was like, it was more like, watch me do this, though. I'm gonna let you talk, but watch what I'm about to do. I'm gonna rip his arm off and walk out the door. Like, watch it happen. And he just, like, does it, and I was like, I love this Wookiee. He's my favorite Wookiee. No, he's not. Chewbacca is. But come on. Like, he's close. I love him. And that was, like, such a cool scene.
The best part was Boba's comment going, at least you tried.
Yeah, like, that was worth a shot, I guess. But, like, she's just, like, so defeated and so, like, well, what was I going to do? I gave him my best shot. Like, it's just a really, really good scene. And then he's like, hey, what does he call him? Does he say, hey, mate? Do you, like, looks like you need...
Hey, mate.
I was like, this is... And, like, Chrysanthemum looks like he's gonna absolutely rip a man apart, but he's like, he's right. Like, it's just, like... Sorry, man. But just, like, hysterical. He's just like, oh, man, he's right. I do need work. Darn it. Like, it was just really funny.
I felt like there was no chance it was going to happen, but when he was sitting there in the bar, just kind of like angry looking around, a piece of me was just like, have Afra sit down next to him and say something really aggravating.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, that would have been awesome.
I feel like we need better introduction for Aphra than kind of sitting down next to him. I feel like she would
definitely. That's why I was like, it's not going to happen.
She would get a pretty good intro. And for the character itself, like, the character would want a good intro. Like,
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So
it was cool. It was a cool scene.
Going back to the flashback scenes, our entire flashback basically runs up until he's sitting on the throne. We get a flashback of him sitting on the throne, which was the predecessor to the show, which I found funny. But when he's sitting with the bantha and they're waiting for the guards to go, did anybody else notice he gave the bantha meat? The bantha's a carnivore?
Yeah, right? I was like, oh.
Maybe omnivore.
Yeah, probably an omnivore.
I thought that was
a
so
little
weird.
surprised. I was surprised to see that banthas eat meat, but also
can't be much for them to eat out there, right?
Warmed my heart that Boba was like, yeah, I'm gonna feed my bantha. Like the bond between him and that bantha, because obviously years have passed and it's been him and the bantha, who doesn't have a name, but
no, he does. He does.
She. What was her name?
I don't recall, but I remember Boba
He
addressing...
just called her old girl.
I swear.
Said in this episode he said old girl. If it was in a different episode, I don't remember it, but he did say just old girl this one.
Yeah, I was waiting for a name. I was like, you have to have named this bantha you've been hanging out with for years.
You know what the best part of his relationship with the bantha? Go make bantha babies.
Yeah, that was the go make bantha babies. I was like, Boba, you're my favorite. Like, he is the uncle I've always wanted, that he's just like supportive as hell and like, go, you're free to roam the sands of Tatooine. I'm like, I love this dude. He is delightful in every way, and he could kill you. It's special. Like, Boba's special. I love him.
So I wrote down a couple of the quotes. The make baby banthas was one of them. We basically see all of Fennec Shan's history with Boba, minus what we see in The Mandalorian. And she says, like, my debt is paid, but I thought in The Mandalorian she still referenced that she owed a debt to him.
I don't remember whether or not she did. I'd have to rewatch it. It's possible. It's entirely possible.
Because this was clearly before The Mandalorian, and she said, my debt is paid, and then she just kind of sits back and is like, maybe I just wanted a friend.
And maybe it's an excuse. Maybe she's using that, like, she had a debt to him as, like, her excuse for, like, still hanging out. I loved how that, like, let's talk about that. That relationship forming and the slow, like, bonding, and how Boba was like, yeah, I like this one, but I'm going to give her space. And, like, fully gave her the choice to, like, hang out with him or not. And, like, just their friendship is so interesting and cool to me. And how, like, neither of them would say that they want to hang out with each other, but they totally want to hang out with each other and be best friends forever.
Will you be my bestie?
Will you be my partner? Will you do it? I love them. I love their partnership. It's really endearing to watch.
They made an interesting comment when she's like, okay, once we get your ship back, my debt is paid. His response was something like, if that's what you want.
If that's what you wish.
I thought that was an interesting comment because he never made anything about, like, you owe me a debt or anything. He never said anything about that. And it's like, I didn't even ask for a debt, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think life debt is implied between bounty hunters. I think that must be, like, one of their, like, culture things. They have such a strong bond just based on the fact that they're bounty hunters. And then it goes from there. But the mutual respect is immediate, which
yeah, their relationship and, like, her waking up on the sand with him having, I forget what he called it, black something, the little,
the
like,
black
gourd.
melon. The black melon.
Yeah,
yes.
he's like, you'll come to crave it.
I was like, oh.
I love my melon water.
That's like... apparently from the comics. We first saw that in the comic series.
Oh, cool.
That's
I don't know why, but I thought that part was very funny, along with the the Trandoshan scene, we talked about it already, but I was laughing my ass off when he just like ripped the arm off and was like, well, I mean, I had to do it. Come on.
Yeah, yep. Had to do it to him. He had to do it to him.
Yeah, but I really liked that. Nicole kind of said it, but I just want to reinforce that I also really enjoyed the. We talked about like him explaining his side of things, but I like seeing Fennec's side. How this is a guy that just helped her, and all he wants in return is to get his ship back. And from there, if she wants to keep hanging out, that's cool. If not, get out of here.
You got a spot on the couch if you want to chill.
Yeah, but I like that their relationship is not based on like debt or fear. It's a mutual respect.
Yes.
And when Shan sees what Fett is trying to build, that's why she stays. When he's talking to her about like all the profit that could be made, all the lives that could be saved, how much smarter and more capable they are, and he's pretty on the money. Like so often these guys that hire them are just complete scumbag morons that only know how to use like brute force to get something done. And it got me thinking, like, he's got.
Are you getting into the crime syndicate game now?
No.
That sounds like a pretty good idea.
No, it got me thinking about like what he's trying to build, and if he succeeds in facing down the Pikes and whoever else may be looking to topple him. So it's him and Fennec, and now they've got Black K with them as well. Like, does this turn into this like house of bounty hunters? Because I think that would be super cool if he like kind of starts something that's kind of like an antithesis in a way to like the Bounty Hunters Guild, which is just all like everyone out for themselves. Like, it's a guild in that they share jobs and there's like some rules, but at the end of the day, none of them actually care about each other or really respect one another. It's just all about profit, and like they can set rates by working together, but they don't actually like look out for each other. Whereas this would be like an organization like built on mutual respect and like a creed. And this is like a very far-fetched hypothesis, but I think that would be super cool if it went down that road. And I've heard people talking about like maybe people like Cade Bane showing up in live action. Cad, excuse me. So yeah, seeing someone like that, like Boba trying to bring him into the fold, or just those two facing off in live action, two of the most badass bounty hunters of all time. We've already got like three of the top ever in one group together. So yeah, I just feel like there's so many cool possibilities of where this could go.
Speaking of dope bounty hunters that we could bring in, we got the Mando music twice in this episode. Once when Fennec was getting knocked off of her block, basically getting her block knocked off and getting shot. And we heard the Mando music, and then we went into like that timeline of like the Mandalorian, right? And then at the end, when they it was absolutely the Mandalorian music.
Okay, because I was going to bring up. Yeah, I was going to bring up when she mentions money can buy muscle. Are we going to see muscle we already know?
I really think they're hinting that our boy Din Djarin is going to be in the show. They did it twice. I obviously the first one is because we're introducing Fennec. We're going into that kind of timeline. Makes sense to me. But to have that cue at the end was really interesting because I have a feeling the Mandalorian show is going to jump a few years to like after like Grogu's training and stuff, and like what like Mando's gonna go back and get him. That would be my idea for at least part of the third season. So what's he been doing? Well, maybe this is what he's been doing. Maybe he goes and helps Boba and Fennec, and it would make sense for there to be them to fill some of his timeline with this.
I like that. And when we talk about the change in outlook that Boba has had and the creed that he's kind of following now of like ruling through respect and showing the people that he hires like respect and like he generally cares about them, like that fits Din Djarin to a T from what he started as to what he's become. So those philosophies would line up perfectly. And like seeing this organization that instead of like going after bounties, like he said, I want to make the streets safe. So like I could see Boba's organization, whatever it turns into, being instead of hiring them to like capture people, they hire them to protect people. I think that would be really cool.
Like bodyguards.
Yeah, but like almost like instead of bodyguards for an individual, like almost
Security.
like a police force in a way.
Yeah, but like actually not garbage. But yeah, one that actually works in theory.
It doesn't have to be just Din as well, because you have Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
And the rest of the Mandalorians
Sasha
theoretically. What was that?
Not the wrestler. It's okay.
You have theoretically they go back to Mandalore to help. That's what I assumed was Mandalorian season 3 is them trying to rescue Mandalore from the
Could be
Empire, or I'm not sure who's in charge of Mandalore at this time. And so you have that group. Maybe they just call over that group, like call the neighboring set. Hey, Mandalorian set, want to come over here and help us defeat some pikes?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I have a feeling that that's where they're going. I don't know, but that seemed to be the hint they're giving us. Musical cues are very important for Star Wars, so.
I also really dug the two of them like infiltrating Jabba's palace to get his ship out. And like messing with the droids and fighting off the guards and then flying off and then having the even cooler scene with Sarlacc, yeah.
That was awesome.
I was like, as soon as they started going face down and trying to I was like, there's a jump scare coming.
Yeah.
I totally, yeah. I think everybody called that the Sarlacc is not dead. And I did like that it jumped out.
Not dead at that moment.
Now it's very
dead. It was
dead.
not dead before this episode. Spoiler warning. The Sarlacc's probably not coming back. I loved that they called out the horrible design of the Slave One as a ship, where he's like, I can't see what I'm looking at, because he's basically laying down
On
in the
his
ship.
back.
Trying to get out, but all he can do is look up. And so he's looking at the roof of the cave, and he's like, I can't see what I'm doing to try to get out of here.
He called it something else. So I forget what he called it, but he said, my ship, and he said the name of it.
Oh, it was his fire spray. No, he said it was fire spray is the model of the ship.
That makes sense.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah,
it's been a fire spray since 2002.
I don't think they're ever going to call it that.
No.
Ever. But yeah, okay. Thank you for clearing that up, because I was like, did they just change the name right now? Is that what they just did? Or
but other than Han, how many people like call their ships like by their names? Or even would it come up in conversation? Fennec sitting there going, what do you call this thing? That would never come up in conversation.
No. Except in Clone Wars, one of the sisters called her ship something. And I don't remember what it was. It was in the last season of the Clone Wars. Angel?
Oh, that's
like
right.
That.
I think I remember that.
And it was like stupid, and we all talked about it. Like, the characters were all like, that's just a stupid name for a ship, but okay.
I could think of a more stupid name for a ship.
I could think of 7 stupid names for ships, but yeah, I get you. Anyway, regardless, I just wanted to clarify whether that was what that was or not.
Yeah. No, but the what were they called? The sonic grenades? Is that what those
Sonic
are?
charges.
Sonic charges. Yeah, I knew. As soon as
buttons.
I saw it, as soon as it happened, and I'm like,
buttons.
JJ's gonna freak out that they're using this.
I was very
excellent.
pleased. And I loved the ship backing out afterwards with the tentacles just like dropping off.
Yes,
That was so cool.
I love the sonic charge rolling off the ship. It's like it clearly released on the wrong side, and it just kind of rolls down. Like that could have gone real bad real quick.
Very lucky that worked out.
that whole scene, like everyone knowing, like you knew everything that was happening and the results. Like we knew his armor wasn't down there. We knew that the Sarlacc wasn't dead and was going to attack him. And we knew with the way that the ship was going that it was going to grab it and have some... But, like, knowing how everything was going to go did not at all detract from my enjoyment of that scene. It was so much fun to watch. And their banter was really enjoyable. And as Jim said, I am a big fan of sonic charges. They produce one of my favorite sounds in all of Star Wars.
Or lack of sounds.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's dope. Lack of sound is great.
And yeah, I just, man, loved that scene. And then him rappelling down into the guts and coming back up and being like, it's not down there. My skin is literally melting at the moment because I'm covered in Sarlacc acid. And she's like, yeah, man, you shouldn't have done that.
She's washing him off with a water bottle. You need to see treatment for that.
Yeah.
That's
you need a back to tank. I was like,
that's not looking good.
he do need a back to tank. It was just like, oh, it was great. You nailed it. It doesn't matter that we knew how that scene was going to go. It was still excellent.
Yeah, so we're there's going to be no more back to tanks moving forward. But hopefully that means a lot more Boba Fett kicking people's asses.
Yeah.
That's what they definitely set it up. I was kind of surprised because before coming into the episode, I was thinking that we had not seen that council of which they played heavily in the trailers. And I'm like, we haven't actually seen that yet. Here it comes in, and it is basically him just telling, mind your own business, and that was it. Like, they kind of, like, walked away, and I'm like, all right, this is, now we're going to get into the action, and, like, clearly he's not doing anything with these guys. Theoretically, the guys aren't going to do anything, but there probably are.
One of them's gonna turn. But yeah, it was very like, hey, mind your damn business. And that was the meeting. And then when they were like, well, why should we listen to you? The Rancor speaks English and knows his cue. That baby Rancor was like, here's my hand. Hello, Dad. Give me some food. Right on cue. Oh,
that was great. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Like, that was right on cue.
That was the best idea. I loved that they had the dinner right on the grates, and it was the Rancor just reaching up into the grates. It was fantastic.
Excellent.
If anyone's gonna betray him, it's Dogface guy. But
Dogface guy.
I think having Black K there will keep the Trandoshans in line. And if memory serves, in the first episode, he was really cool to the Aqua Lishes, so I think they're fine. It was pretty telegraphed that if anyone's going to give him trouble, it's Mr. Dogface. But
yeah, the Trandoshan is the same Trandoshan we saw in the first episode, because it was
Robert Rodriguez then. Yeah. But I feel like this is the turning point for the season, and like our patience with the story is starting to be paid off, and it's going to close out really strong. There's definitely been issues with each of the episodes, but overall, I'm enjoying where things are headed, and there's been a lot of really cool, fun moments. And I hope people, now that like Boba Fett has basically told you why he is the way that he is, I hope people can kind of accept that and let it go, because I'm seeing a lot of detractors around it. And yeah, Jim, you're totally right. People are still going to complain, but I do hope it satisfies. I do hope it satisfies some of the folks out there, because I feel like, I mean, we talked about it before he explained it. I feel like this makes a lot of sense.
It does. It absolutely does. And like, if the character was one-dimensional, I'd be very angry. So yes, give me someone with depth and dimension and different sides to him, and yeah, you can be an empathetic guy with a heart of gold and also a ruthless son of a gun. You can do both. And I mean, we saw that in Mando. Like, Mando's a cold-blooded killer, but his son, though, don't mess with his son. And it's just like, yeah, like, we can do that. It's okay. I kind of love it.
Yeah. before we end, I've been trying to keep track of Easter eggs. I love the Easter eggs in the background, and I don't always catch all of them, but Twitter catches a lot of them. The only Easter egg that I really caught, besides anything we talked about, which weren't really Easter eggs, Fennec says, "I'll have him singing like a yuzum." Do you guys know what a yuzum is?
What the heck is a yuzum?
We've seen a yuzum in JJ's favorite scene from Return of the Jedi, the Jedi Rocks scene, where the guy who's the main singer, where they kind of zoom in on his little dangly ball, Joe Yowza.
Oh, I was like, what?
Oh!
He is a yuzum, and actually the yuzums are from Endor, and we actually, I'm pretty sure we originally see them in the Ewoks cartoon series.
Okay, wow, deep cut, man.
Good job, Jim.
Yeah, that's
what when when they said singing like a yuzum, that was a reference to Return of the Jedi, because it's the yuzum
Makes
who's
sense.
singing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Good job, good catch.
Very good.
I didn't even catch it. I didn't even catch the line. So good job.
I don't even remember what they were talking about. She's just like, "I'll have him singing like a yuzum," and I don't remember who she was talking about when she said it.
Oh, he's singing like a yuzum. That the guy with the mayor's guy, the guy who like feels like he shouldn't be in Star Wars at all because he's definitely a human in a costume. The mayor's like guy, Major Domo.
Okay.
Because they had him, and he was like, he's singing like a yuzum, but we still don't know where the mayor is. That was the context.
Okay.
Now I remember. And I do remember being like, a what now? And then I moved on with my life.
That was my big Easter egg. Yeah.
Go. Good job.
But that's all I got.
All right. Well, that's going to do it today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. We hope you enjoyed the episode as well. If you did enjoy the show today, it's a huge help to us if you can give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and more importantly, share the show with your friends. Marketing is expensive, and we don't have money for ad space, so if you want to share the show with your fellow Star Wars fans, that'd be awesome. Unless Jim is coming into... Did you find money on your giant piece... oil on your giant piece of land yet up in New York?
That is a long story. But then the short answer is no. But they did have...
just got interesting.
No, an oil company had mining rights on our land before we bought the property.
Okay.
And it became a super huge issue because it wasn't known that they had oil rights. And it was like... When we tried to buy it, they're like, yeah, we're going to have to hold off on finishing the purchase because there's someone who else is claiming ownership because of the oil rights. And yeah, no, as far as we're aware, there is no oil. And that got all cleared up.
Okay. Yeah, so 5-star review on iTunes. Share the show with your friends. Also find us on Twitter at Talkin Tauntauns. And if you want to shoot us an email, we'd always love to hear from you. Talkin Tauntauns at AIPTcomics.com. That is going to do it. We're going to get out of here, and we'll see you guys next time.